Elon Mayor George Tolley is not running for re-election this November, but two hopeful candidates are vying to take his place. Alderwoman Emily Sharpe and Michael Woods are with us tonight here in studio. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you all coming on. So first and foremost, just tell us a little bit about the campaign trail, how it's like out there, and what you're really hearing from voters in the town. Emily, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I think that campaigning during a pandemic is certainly different than campaigning 4 years ago when I ran for alderman. And so it's been really different. Last time we knocked on hundreds of doors, and it's just been slower to get out there and get to the voters. So we've been hosting virtual events and, events in neighborhoods along the way. And it's just really different because nobody really wants a stranger knocking on their door during a pandemic. So it's been really interesting.
Michael?
Well, as Emily just said, same thing. We're just getting on the phone, calling people, trying to introduce ourselves to the community, and just trying to get our message out.
So tell me, why is it important, and Michael, we'll start with you, for you to be in this race right now? What is the number one thing that is your campaign achievement that you hope to do?
My goal is to bring bold new change to the community. This is a college town, and we have to, I guess, just be there for the college kids. Diversity, inclusion, more shops, things to make their college experience more enjoyable.
Sure. Emily?
And for me, I'm running for mayor because I love this town and I want to continue to see it do well. Certainly, economic development is so important. Sure. And not just for the students, but for our residents as well, because, our residents do have a large tax burden. About 40% of our land is not taxed. So that means, we are providing services to 12,000 people with a budget for 6,000 people.
Sure.
So, really just taking a leadership role to advocate, at the state level and even at the federal level for more funding for towns like ours. And finding those creative revenue sources, because raising taxes in the town of Elon only gets us about $60,000. And if you know anything about government, $60,000 doesn't get you very far. So, raising taxes doesn't really help us to achieve our goals. So being creative and advocating for Elon and other college towns is going to be important.
All right. Well, the juices are flowing at the table. I'm excited to continue the conversation. We're going to head to commercial in a quick second, but don't go anywhere because Emily Sharpe and Michael Woods will join me right after the break.
You're watching Elon Local News.
Well, good evening again. I'm joined, as promised, by Emily Sharpe and Michael Woods. They're running for the Elon Mayoral seat this November the 2nd, and so let's continue the conversation. So how does the university factor into your goals as a potential mayor? Michael?
I'm from Durham, North Carolina, and the city of Durham has always just been there for those children, and I want this Elon to do the same.
Sure.
To embrace the children and let them experience college life in a wonderful city like Elon.
Emily?
Yeah, and for me, people always ask me the question, being on the board of aldermen, they ask questions about, what's the town's greatest asset and what's the greatest barrier? And my response is Elon University, because there's certainly such a tremendous asset in terms of the economic value, the educational value. They bring so much, and I love it when the students are here. They engage with us. They come to our community cleanups, which there's one this Saturday, and, just participate with the town. But also, Elon University has 656 acres in our town that are untaxed. And so that means, again, that we're providing a lot of services without the funding that's necessarily needed. So really developing the relationship that we already have. COVID has really improved that relationship, and just continuing down that same road of, developing that relationship, finding the things that we can all mutually benefit from and working toward those.
So, sometimes we hear a little bit of a disconnect between the residents of the town of Elon and students. Relationships seem to alter. Is that something that you're hearing on the campaign trail as well? And what are you doing to hopefully kind of get rid of that gap between those two demographics?
Yeah, so, on the Board of Aldermen, we do have several individuals who will come and they'll share, grievances about the students. And one of the first questions that I have asked in a public meeting is, well, have you talked to them? And the answer is almost always no.
Sure.
And so bridging that gap is so important, getting the neighbors to know them. There is one family, the Scotts, they invite all the students who live on their street to a barbecue every year. They get to know them, and I think that that's a really good way to engage with the students. I'm also on the Neighborhood Coalition, which is a group of students and residents, and how we can better, be good neighbors. And I also developed an educational program, which is launching this fall, talking to students about, hey, you're renting in a residential neighborhood. What are you, going to do to be a good neighbor?
Michael?
I think that like a mentor program to where if we have a call about a student or organization, we'll go out, we'll meet with them, we'll talk about it. We have residents here, but we have to coexist.
Sure.
And so I think we can resolve issues like that.
All right. Well, the conversation's starting here, but also ending here tonight. But like I said, thank you so much for joining us. The election is November the 2nd. We report, you decide. For all of the coverage on our Election Day coverage, you can go to elonnewsnetwork.com to find everything Election Day 2021. But Emily, Michael, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Sure.